mean, I could say that I honestly grew up more on my Jamaican side than in terms of my Nigerian side, because my dad was gone from us when I was about 3 years old, and so really a majority of my life was spent on my Jamaican side. The dream was that I was in my in my grandparents' living room in the Bronx, and I was playing in the living room, and they had this big, sort of in Jamaican households, but sort of the big china cabinet, and I remember playing across from it in the living room.
But get me off of the street and get a wall away, bro.
Brace me back against the wall. Put the gun to my head.
My father don't care, you know. I go from a straight A student to dropping out of freaking school.
They told me that they're charging me for robbery, kidnapping, illegal possession of firearm.
My guest story is a unique one. However, his condition is popular and well known to many. Many of us call it stammer or stammering, but the proper term to describe his condition is called stutter. The interesting thing about his stuttering is that it was started from one childhood event, and ever since, the stuttering stuck with him until now. That same stuttering, instead of it being a setback throughout his life, it actually helps to open a lot of doors. Without further ado, Chris, where are you going?
What's up, man?
Everything all right?
Bless, everything good.
All right, before we move forward, you understand Jamaican fully, right?
Yes, fully.
Right, so we get to understand that you're half Jamaican,
Yes.
half Nigerian.
Mm-hmm. Fire and spice.
Good way to actually describe it.
Yeah.
Tell me about that now. How that happened?
Yeah, I mean, well, you have to ask my parents how that happened, So the thing that's interesting, that of all places, the two of them met in Providence, Rhode Island at community college. So, so I'm Jamaican on my mother's side and Nigerian on my dad's side. And so my mother was going to school, to community college at Rhode Island. And that's where they met. Mm-hmm. And they just sort of met, and from the time they met, it was fire. So they loved hard and they fought hard. Yep. And I'm the product of that.
You're the only one, or you have siblings?
I'm the only one of the two of them.
Okay.
I'm the only one of them. So I do. So I have some siblings on my mother's side, and I have some siblings on my dad's side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was it like growing up as a child, half Jamaican, half Nigerian?
Yeah.
And as you describe it, fire and ice.
Yeah. Spice.
Spice.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to them two households, Nigerian, we have similar traits, even though it's two countries apart. Mm-hmm. Jamaican and Nigerian, we have similar traits. Mm-hmm. I mean, strict rules when it comes to raising, kids in America. So how was it kind of growing up in that environment?
I mean, I could say that I honestly grew up more on my Jamaican side than in terms of my Nigerian side, because my dad was gone from us when I was about 3 years old, and so really a majority of my life was spent on my Jamaican side. And on the Jamaican side, like, I didn't know anything else, so it was, so in terms of, for me, it was completely normal to be on a school like field trip to the zoo and open up a thermos and be pulling out curry goat. and like oxtail, and other kids are pulling out sandwiches. Other kids pulling out a ham and cheese sandwiches, and I'm pulling out a full 3-course meal with the dumpling. and these kids are like, what's that? And I'm like, curry goat. And he's like, you eating goat? And I was like, what? I was like, isn't everybody eating oxtail and curry goat? And I was like 6 years old, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I just, so in terms of the childhood, I had like funny moments like that.
Right.
And then also too, in in terms of the family, it was all about church too. You know, it was a very God-fearing family.
That is a part
as
of
well.
Jamaican
That's a
culture.
big
part.
like big part of the culture. And you know, I'm talking about like them storefront type churches. I'm not talking about just sort of like the like nice prim and kind of proper like kind of Baptist church in the Bronx where like it could get real spooky. You know what I'm saying? Like you know, just like like old Jamaican woman going real hard about, you know, in the spirit and anything like that. But I mean, there's a lot of grateful, a lot of love. There was a big sort of an emphasis on education too. So I had to be, which as you know is a big part, you know, of the Jamaican culture. It's faith, it's education and pride and having character as well. So
have you ever been down to Jamaica? Have your mother ever take you down there?
Oh yeah.
Or what do you think about the culture down there?
Yeah, I mean I loved it. It was you know, it was a funny story that we had. So, you know, the first time I was going down, you know, I was told by the family that we are going down to Jamaica, and it was, I think I was maybe like 12 or 13 years old. And I felt like it was a vacation trip. I was so excited, and we get there to Jamaica and everybody's sad. I was like, why everybody's sad? And they said, well, it's actually an aunt funeral. And I was like, why is everybody sad?
When you think it was a vacation.
I'm the only one smiling at the airport. it's like, we going to Jamaica. And everybody's solemn. And I was like, I don't get why everybody's so sad. It wasn't until we got there, found out it was a funeral. So, so we out there at the funeral, and like, you know, I'm in the suit and everything, and you know, this is like, I'm starting to meet like real family members, like deep family members, right? Who live like deep in the country. And so anyway, man, so we're all there at the funeral, and I have to use the bathroom. I say to my uncle at the time, I say, hey man, where's the bathroom? He's like, he's like, I don't know. I think you got to ask somebody. So anyway, I find this guy who's walking by. I don't know if he was family member or not, but anyway, I go up to him in my nice little suit and everything. I said, excuse me, sir, can you tell me where the bathroom is? And he looks at me and he just goes, yeah, man. And then keeps walking. And I was like, and I was just like, okay. I went back to my uncle. I told him.
Man didn't tell you what the bathroom
He didn't tell me. I went back to my uncle. He fell out laughing.
Probably man, I said, go and go piss a bush. Why you ask me that? Bro, look, go piss at the bush or something. You ask about bathroom.
But listen, that probably could have been it, but either way, I found out it was an outhouse. And that was my first time ever using an outhouse. Because I grew up in New York.
In New York, completely different.
You know, the city, like apartments, indoor plumbing, you know what I'm saying? You know, I sort of, you know, that's what I had. It's very interesting.
You enjoy the trip overall?
Love the trip. I ate such good food. I mean, the family was just amazing down there. And then the friends in the neighborhood. It was a community.
Okay. Where in Jamaica your mom is from?
She was born in Kingston, but a lot of the families from like St. Catherine. Yeah. So I got so family on my grandmother's side, and my grandfather's side. They're just all out in the country.
All right, so I'm going to jump into the part now where, you know, the whole stuttering start. Because trust me, this sounds really interesting, more to know. Because honestly, I thought that stuttering was something that you had to be born with. And probably many other people think that way. So tell me how your stuttering start.
Yeah, you know, so in terms of for how I came to stutter, it was from actually a bad dream I had when I was 3 years old. I remember a time when I did not stutter. I was just, you know, just a kid, and you know, had friends, and I talked, you know, as I wanted to, and anything I wanted to say at any time, I could say, you know, without any sort of blocks. You know, it didn't matter if I was scared or if I was happy. I didn't have any kind of issues. And then one night, I think the nightmare occurred closer to the morning. The dream was that I was in my my grandparents' living room in the Bronx, and I was playing in the living room, and they had this big, sort of in Jamaican households, sort of the big china cabinet, and I remember playing across from it in the living room, and a snake came out. And then like came toward me. And then lunged at me. And when it lunged at me, that's when I woke up. And I got up out the bed, right, as I usually did, and I went into the kitchen. To see my mom, and I went to her, and I went to her to say good morning, and she turned to me. She saw me first. She said, "Hey Chris, good morning, son," and I was like, and I had a hard time getting the words out.
So you couldn't speak?
It was hard for me to speak, and she just couldn't understand what happened, because imagine how it is from her point of view as a mother, right? So you have this child, you're a single mom, you have this boy,
right,
who's like, bright and playful and all that. And then, he talked fine, he talked without any sort of a blocks. And then one morning he gets up and he starts stuttering. Try and imagine the thing that's going through her head at that time, right?
Right.
She was, she was just sort of like, she was just completely thrown for a loop. She didn't really know how to, how to deal with it. And from that point on, I stuttered.
You stuttered.
I stuttered
so
for the rest of my life.
Was it really bad during that childhood phase?
That actually is a good question. I don't know how bad it was. I just know that it was. I just know that I did have the stutter, and a main part of that, of why I don't know how bad it was, is because, because at 3 in your childhood, it isn't as if you had that sense of awareness, right? I should say that sort of sense of like self-awareness.
True.
But I do know that there was lots of situations as a child, like growing up in school, that I studied and kids noticed, and some kids teased me and all that.
I was going to ask you that. So they tease you throughout your school? Yeah.
But I will say this, that I did not have the type of experience where I was teased relentlessly, and I was crying in the schoolyard every day. It was not that way. I think it's because I was always just sort of still a outgoing, gregarious, fun kid, that I still made a lot of friends.
Okay.
But at the same time, there were kids that made fun
of you and mock you.
Yeah. But not in a way that it was every day, and I was and I was bullied bad about it.
You know why? Because you were in America. You see, if you were in Jamaica, right now, your name wouldn't be Chris.
Oh no!
You know why?
Oh man!
They would call you Stammer.
Oh my gosh!
That's how Jamaicans are. So you would actually get that name in a school, and that would have stuck with you. Everybody would have just called you Stammer. If you're black, them call you Blacker. We just look by you and just give a name, and you have to hold it.
You gotta hold it. You have to hold it.
Yeah, you have to hold it, and it grow with you. Trust me. I know. But
Oh, it's funny.
did your mom ever like seek speech therapy, or she never think it was that important?
You know what? I won't say that she didn't think it was important. I just think she just didn't even know that it was a thing to really like seek out, right? Like it wasn't until I got to public school in the Bronx where, so we moved from Rhode Island to the Bronx and I started to go to public school. And then there were teachers, and there was actually a special ed teacher there at the public school, and she was the closest thing at the school to like a speech therapist. So I would spend time with her like a few times a week in her office, like for 30 minutes. And all this I'm talking about like in like 4th, 5th, and like 6th grade.
Okay.
I would spend like time with her, and so we'd go through like breathing exercises and things like that. But in terms of like formal speech therapy, like I never really had formal speech therapy until I decided as I got older, to really go, really go get it.
So growing up, right? Has it ever felt like it was a setback to you any at all? Like, have you ever been embarrassed of it?
All the time. Like embarrassment, shame, all throughout my life. So, so even though I had friends and, I wasn't bullied bad to the point where like I couldn't even come to school and nothing like that. I still had lots of moments where in school or like, if I was in front of any sort of a group and had to speak, I was just sort of like, I was embarrassed. I was anticipating me stuttering and how I would feel.
And so that would make it worse?
That would make it worse, right? So it's like, so building up to the moment when I have to speak in front of people, I'm already feeling anxiety and all that. And then when I'm in the moment and I'm speaking and I'm stuttering in the moment, now I'm feeling even more anxiety, frustration, shame, and embarrassment. That's making me stutter worse. And then that's causing, it's just sort of compounded, all the time. I mean, even to adulthood.
How does this stutter basically help, to open doors for you? Because even though it was like a hump, like a little, embarrassing and so on, this same stutter kind of help open a lot of doors, for your endeavors. How did that happen?
Well, I mean, the first thing I would say is that, is that because of the stutter, I felt there were a lot of things I'd have to miss out on in life or that I would not be able to have the best of. I feared that my stutter would get in the way of me finding love, being able, it would get in the way of me just sort of in my career. And if not like get in a way that it would mean that I wouldn't be able to have the best of those things because of my stutter and how people would like view my stutter. And so the first way I would say that opened doors is that I've realized when I started going to speech therapy, part of it was talking to your family about stuttering. And I started to I went back and talked to my wife, and I asked her before we got married, when we were dating, how did you feel when you realized I stuttered?
I was going to ask you that question.
Yeah.
Because I know that you're, married for over 15 years now?
Yes, it's been exactly 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah, 15 years.
So since you already bring it up, tie it in to tell me how you actually, when you meet your wife, what she think about your stuttering, or did it embarrass you when you approach her, or what was going through your head knowing that, you stutter?
I mean, ironically, for all the embarrassment and shame and anxiety I had to speak to people, to speak publicly because of my stutter, when it came to women, no problem.
Sound good to me.
It was as if I never had a stutter.
God
It was
damn.
as if-
Okay, good.
The time it came to girls and women was no problem, like no issue. Like it wasn't until like if we dated for a while, then then they started to realize like,
Right,
oh wait a
right.
minute, this guy has a little bit of but when I first come up, I mean smoothest.
What?
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. I mean, I get
Words just a flow like a river.
it's just the flow. It's just the Jamaican and the Nigerian
Yeah,
in me,
that's
man. I don't know
mixed.
that it just. I mean, it just came and it overtake everything.
Yeah.
Right? That Jamaican and Niger just overtake everything. But in any case, in like in terms of her though, like I asked her, I said to her, I said, hey, so when we like first started to date and you started realizing I had a stutter, I said, tell me what you thought. And she said, I actually thought it was really cute. It made you unique. And I was like, and that just blew my mind. That just took all the things I thought and just turned it on its head, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh man, for women, they may start to change how they feel about you or maybe how they see you if they realize, like you actually have a stutter. In actuality, in the case of my wife, it was actually my competitive advantage, right? Actually, my stutter was actually my competitive advantage. So that opened the door, right? So it was my stutter actually that opened the door for her and I to really sort of begin a courtship and a relationship.
Because she find it unique.
Because she thought it was unique. It's what set me apart.
So that's basically like the first door.
That was the first door.
Okay.
So that was the first door. And then really, honestly, all the other doors came after I went to, I started like speech therapy in 2020. It's when the pandemic hit, right? And everything had gone to Zoom and gone virtual. That is a nightmare for people who stutter, to be on camera and all that, because you're literally it's a spotlight, right? So you're literally on the spot when you're on Zoom and you have to like speak and you see like the number of people in that meeting and all you're thinking about is that many eyes on you. So it becomes a really like tough thing. So I decided, and I was in a job where I had a very like demanding boss who was really bringing out a lot of anxiety in me. So it just became so bad that I couldn't even speak on meetings. I was just having a tough time. I just having like blocks, all this anxiety and all that because of my stutter. And like, I never really accepted my stutter. So I never really told people about my stutter. I just kind of hoped that people wouldn't really point it out, right? Or that like it would be something that we didn't talk about. My speech therapist told me about the National Stuttering Association and that there's a conference, and there are conference of people around the country and even sometimes from the world who stutter. So I got the email about this conference, and I decided to do something I never ever thought I would do, and I decided to submit for a proposal to do a session at the conference, and I called it Stuttering While Black. So I did that session, and that opened doors to me now meeting people, being more comfortable, accepting my stutter. And then I ended up actually on some news stations talking on television.
Look at that.
To really raise awareness to people about stuttering, in particular about Black men who stutter, and how our experience as stutters is also unique because we're both Black and we stutter.
Tell me some of the stations that you've been on.
Yes, I was on Fox 5 DC here, and I was on News 12 in Long Island in New York City, and I did a segment on the one here for Fox 5 DC. I was on with two other guys who are also Black men who stutter, who I met here.
What can we learn? Well, I kind of pick out one thing from your childhood trauma. Sometimes we have to accept what it is, because certain things that happen to us, we never planned for it, but then it turned out in life that it was preparing you for something greater than what we actually think. Because probably without that dream and your study, then those things that came with you, like, you know, the conference and then, you know, Fox 5 and these different things that you do, you probably wouldn't even go in that direction. Would you agree, or what do you think about that?
I would absolutely wholeheartedly agree. I would even go so far as to say that whatever those things are in life that you feel are a setback or an obstacle to you could actually be clues to you being able to live new levels of life.
True.
Because whatever those things are tied to greater purpose within you. I think from a spiritual part, I think the enemy attacks us in places where we can be most dangerous to him and most impactful for the kingdom. I believe that the enemy knows more about our future than we do. And because he knows the plan that God has for us, he's throwing things at us right now all the time to take us off that path. The reason why I say that is because I believe from my own situation that I was put on this earth to speak. But I think the enemy knew that before I knew that.
Right.
And tried to take my speech. And tried to instill fear in me, fear to speak, right? And so there were so many times I did not show up for myself to speak in life, and I regretted it. But it was because of my study. But it wasn't until I got older and I realized, I say, you know what? You still have to show up for yourself. It doesn't matter how long these words take. You're going to get these words, right? No matter how long, because my words matter. It don't matter how long they take, right? But I had to come to that point. And so I believe there are things that are tied to what we see as the worst in ourselves are actually tied to the greatest within ourselves.
People who have studied just like you.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would like to say, like, you know?
Yeah, I would say that, you know, that in terms of the steps I took was that I realized that in order to tackle those things that I thought were setting me back, I had to go on a journey of self-discovery. I had to first find myself. I had to find my tribe of people who share these similar experience, because sometimes it's just good to know that you're not the only one, right? And then I had to find others, and find others means find other people to actually help and to advocate for. Because when you advocate for other people and when you help other people, it actually heals you.
Chris, thank you, bro, for showing up.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you so much for having me, man.
All right, so that's it. I mean, that was a very interesting story, you know? So remember, give the video a thumbs up, like, subscribe. All right, thanks for watching.